Hi guys, welcome to Big Loz Official. Today I'm just going to go through a little recap of what I've been up to over the last few weeks. Competed twice in 6 days, which I'm getting a bit too old for. But we'll start off in Southampton for the Ultimate Strongman World Championships. I was the defending champion going into this show. The lineup was phenomenal, really. You had some of the absolute best guys in the world. Mateusz Kielkowski, who did awesome at World's Strongest Man this year. Lysis from the States, that guy is just unbelievable. Janasha, along with a whole load of just really top World's Strongest Man finalists, competitors. I wasn't in the best shape going into it, but I felt there were some good events that I had. It started off with a farmer's walk, so 150 kilos in each hand. Doesn't sound that hard really for top level strongman, but Glenn's farmer's implements are really awkward, and in the past only one person's managed to finish this course. He's quite strict with the rules, so that if you drop it, your go is terminated and then you're just measured for distance. So it's a tough event, and I had to go in the first heat. I knew that. I wasn't sure what number I drew, but I was in the first heat. So I planned to try and make sure I had like a steady run on the way to the turn. Then you have to turn without putting the farmers down and come back across the line. And I did a decent performance. I kind of went nice and steady, managed to turn without kind of draining my grip too much, and then increased the speed on the way back. And it was actually good enough for second place. Only Kielkowski managed to beat it. And I think we were the only two that finished. Maybe Janasha finished as well. But of a strong field of athletes, for only 3 people to finish 150 kilo farmers walk shows you how tough it is. Really tough on the hands. The bottles kind of just smash into your legs all the time, and every time they hit your legs, it just wants to open up your hands. So they're really tough first event, but pleased with how it started. Then we did, I think it was a deadlift for Max next. It was an 18-inch deadlift. I haven't trained any 18-inch deadlifts at all. I've been working on improving my technique from the floor, and my deadlift was just a bit down, to be honest. I thought I'd be all right. And I actually ended up pulling less than I pulled at the UK's last year, but it was enough to place me kind of mid-table and get some decent points. But drop back a bit on the top guys. I need to get kind of that height deadlift sorted. It's not my best lift. I'm much better actually from the floor, where I get a lot more leg drive. So I've been working on improving the glutes and hamstrings, but I've actually done no pulling from 18 inches at all. So it kind of showed on that event. After that, we had the log lift, which was a series of logs starting at 120 kilos, I think, right up to 200 kilos, which I kind of in my head, I didn't think anyone was going to do 200 kilos. I thought, try and focus on a good steady 3 to get the 120, 140, 160, and then have a crack at the 180. That's what I did. A good solid performance on the first 3, all flew up fairly comfortably. Tried the 180, it just wasn't there. But only one person managed the 180. They were quite tough logs. They felt kind of front heavy, so they're quite hard to clean. Brand new as well, so there's no kind of chalk on them that kind of helps them make the clean a little bit easier. They're just nice and shiny and freshly painted, and it made it pretty tough. And I think Kielkowski won that event with managing the 180. Everyone else was then split on times for the 160 or less. So another solid performance. I was happy enough with that. Next event we had was, I think, the Flagpole Hoist, which is an event I injured myself on at the UK's last year, so I was a little bit nervous going into it. My plan for the whole show really was not get hurt, knowing that I had another show the week after. So I was nice and steady, kind of got my feet in the right position. I've been working on my mobility, and I think in the past, when I did it at the UK's, I was standing too wide, so I've kind of made sure my legs are narrower, mobility's better, and the first 3 flew up, which was nice. Then I got onto the 4th one, which was the one I hurt myself on, and you just naturally just get a little bit worried. But I grabbed it, pulled it came up quite nicely, and I left it there, knowing that I was competing the week after. I was happy to improve on what I'd done in the past, and I didn't want to risk any injuries, so I think 4 poles kind of scored pretty high as well, so I was reasonably happy. I think 3 or 4 guys maybe did all 5, but I was placing in just behind them, which was good enough for that show. What else was there? Trying to think what other events there was. There was Atlas stones to finish with. Really hard set of stones. They're only up to 175 kilos, the last stone, but they're the diameter of the big stones, they're huge, and also they were extremely dusty. No one actually managed to lift all five, which for a set that light seems weird for people that haven't tried them, but it was just a really, really hard set. I could have did a reasonable 3 and then almost loaded the fourth. If I got that fourth up, it would have placed me second or third, and a third I think I would have placed on the stones. So it wasn't too bad a performance. Main goal, like I said, was get through it without getting hurt, knowing that I had the qualifier for World's Strongest Man the week after. Lissis won the show. It was a great battle to watch between him, Janasha, and Kilkowski. Kilkowski is unbelievable right now. I think he won pretty much all the events, but his deadlift still lets him down, and that consistency of Lissis throughout the whole events made sure he came out on top. And Janasha as well, really consistent, just had one bad, I think the flag actually kind of held him back a little bit. He maybe tweaked his hamstring and dropped a few points on that. One guy I got to mention in that show, he didn't place so high, but Misha Shivlikov, he tore his calf on the first event on the Farmer's Walk. Anyone else would have pulled out of the show. That guy just gave 100% on every single event, kept going right to the end, just put on a show for the crowd. I think he failed like the 400 kilo deadlift first attempt, then got it. Failed the 420 deadlift first time, then got it. He just keeps coming back out, keeps smiling, and you know, like seeing him behind the scenes, you can see how much pain he's in, but he keeps coming out, and you just got to commend a guy like that. He's unbelievable. Really, you know, just puts on a show for the crowd. Really, really tough contest, and it was awesome to see. Maybe not the smartest thing to do going forward for himself, but the guy is unbelievable, and he has respect from all the athletes. So it was a good show, nice crowd. I think there was about 2,500 there, which is a decent sized crowd for Strongman, especially in the south. There's not too many competitions going on in the south. The only criticism I have for a crowd like that is why put a crowd that size in a football stadium? You got a stadium with 35,000 seats, so I think maybe Ultimate Strongman should look at maybe a smaller venue and fill it out rather than just going for like a big huge venue and just having a small section. That's my personal view. I think it's quite nice, some of these smaller venues, when you're in closer to the action, and you get that atmosphere, whereas in somewhere that big it almost kind of disappears just into the air. It's the only real criticism. It was a good run show. They put on a lot for the crowd in between events, which was really cool to see. Loads of people seemed to enjoy it. We did the meet and greet afterwards, and I had a fun day. You know, it was a good competition. I think I ended up 6, which in the lineup was okay. It's not what I wanted, but my kind of focus was on the week after to try and qualify for Worlds. So you know, it wasn't the best performance in the world by me, but it was a good, adequate performance, and I was pleased. Knowing how many shows I've got coming up this year, I can't be at my best at all of them. My focus is to try and retain the UK Strongest Man title, so that's what my training is leading up to. These other shows I have to treat, especially now that I'm older and don't recover as quick, more as training and, you know, looking to peak at the right time. So for me, it'll be at the UK's. Anyway, on to the following week, 6 days later actually. Quite a long flight over to Martinsville in Indiana in the States. First time I've ever been over there. I've enjoyed watching the show the last few years on Channel 5. Giants Live have done the show for the last 2 years. Rob Kearney was competing, who was defending champion from last year. You know, Brian Benzel, who's done well at Worlds the last few years. Mark Felix, along with a whole host of new up-and-coming Americans that were really quite impressive, actually, I have to say. I'd never heard of any of them, but there were some really awesome performances, some new guys to look out for that have qualified for Worlds next year. I was satisfied with my performance. I was happy with the win. I wasn't overly pleased in terms of performance. The week before, I just kind of felt a little pull in my groin, and it's kind of affecting that power off the floor on the deadlift. And deadlift's going really well in training the last few weeks. I could feel straight away that I wasn't generating the normal kind of power I do off the floor in the warm-ups. And I think we started with 340 kilos on the deadlift, and that went up okay, but it was just feeling a lot heavier than I would have maybe liked 340 to feel. We moved up to 365, and my initial plan was to skip 365 and go straight to 380, but how it felt, I was like, I just need to get myself firing. And I've changed my technique a little bit over the last year. I wear Converse shoes now. I've kind of implemented a way of holding the straps a bit like Eddie and Hafthor do. And it's been working really well in training. I've been activating my glutes and hamstrings a lot more. It's been feeling strong, but I just felt like I wasn't kind of firing this week. So I managed to pull the 365, and then the 380 was like really ugly. And you know, I'm a 435 kilo deadlifter, so I was thinking I'm really struggling today. I didn't think I'd get the 400, and I decided to ditch the shoes, strap on really tight, and just try and get as much out of my quads as I could, and kind of get the bar up just to get the lift up in terms of strongman lifts. You know, I've tried to improve it in terms of powerlifting lifts to make sure I could lift in, you know, any type of competition. But I that kind of natural quad power that I had helped. It blasted it up, and I got the weight up, not as cleanly as I maybe would have liked, and as I feel like I've done in the gym recently. But it was enough to get me joint first. Mark Felix also pulled 400. He looked like he was down on his best as well. So, you know, it was in a car park on a slant. These things affect it. Competing 6 days before affects it. People watch and they go, oh, you know, I've seen Loz do more than that. But it's doing it in the competition when it counts. And it was enough to win on the day. Rob Kearney also did 400 with a kind of Derek Poundstone style ultimate hitch. It was impressive to see because, you know, he really had to work hard for that lift, but he got it up, and that's what strongman's about. It's about getting the bar from A to B. So first event, joint first, happy enough, would have liked the outright win, but with guys like Felix and Rob, you're happy enough to take joint first. Next event is normally a banker event for me, which is the super yoke. It was £1,000, which is 455 kilos, I believe. The kind of nice arched yokes. I've seen them. I used to watch them when they did like the Mohegan Sun back in, you know, 2008 kind of time, before I was competing at the top kind of level, and I'd seen like Mariusz Pudzianowski and Terry Hollands and Derek Poundstone and all those kind of guys going head to head on these implements. I'd never had a go on them myself. Actually, in the warm-ups I picked it up and it felt okay, got my height set. I haven't done a load of yoke training recently. I've just had a few kind of tweaks in my quad. Nothing bad, but just that's held me back from going too heavy. So I've just focused more on 320 kilos, working on speed. And, you know, I'm quite restricted in terms of distance where I train. So I had to practice turning quite a lot, which actually benefited me in this show, as we had to go I think it was about 15 metres, then turn and come back. And I'm very, very quick now at turning because of that. I was up against Rob Kearney, who's also another very good yoke runner. They tried to make out this big kind of battle that neither of us have ever been beaten, which is rubbish, but they like to do that in Strongman. But yoke's an event I am very confident on. I think, you know, I can't actually tell you how many times I've won the yoke in shows now. It's well over 20 or 30 competitions at international level where I've won the yoke. So I know it's a good event for me. I go in thinking I can win. I've got that belief that I can win it. And I had a good start. I got ahead of Rob. Slipped a little bit towards the end, but my turn was very quick and my run back was nice and steady. And I actually, because I knew Rob was behind me, I could kind of take my foot off the gas a little bit and just keep it safe. Whereas I think he was trying to catch me up and he ended up falling, which is a mistake you can make sometimes. I've done it myself, where you feel like you're behind someone and you try and push a little bit too hard to catch up. So when I get ahead, and I can kind of just see I'm ahead, I can kind of, in my head, just kind of slow down a little bit just to make sure you don't stumble or make a silly mistake towards the end. And got the event win, which I was really needing in that event. Then we moved on to the dumbbell. The dumbbell was 100 kilos. Been going okay in training. I've been hitting sets of 5 quite comfortably with kind of 90 to 95 kilos. I hadn't gone up to 100 for sets of reps, but I felt like I could do 5 or 6. A couple of guys before me managed to hit 7, some real big kind of pressers, and that's one thing you notice with like a lot of the new guys. There's guys that are very, very good at certain events. One of the guys from Canada, actually, he wasn't doing that well in the competition, but he managed to smash out 7 reps really comfortably. And then who else did 7? Brian Benzel did 7 as well. Really good explosive technique. And then it was myself and Rob up. Rob's a very, very good presser, and I kind of managed, I think I did 4 or 5, I did 4, and 4 was enough to get second place, because I knew that the best anyone had done apart from the guys on 7 was 3, so I did 4, tried for a 5th, and it kind of wasn't quite there, I'm pretty sure if I took a second or two, I could have got maybe 5 or even 6, but I didn't think I'd hit 7. So I kind of saved my energy, watched Rob, who managed to hit 7 as well. That actually helped me really, because there was 4 guys tied with 7, so they end up splitting points. And because I'd beaten everyone else, I was just up there, just behind them. So tactically, it was a good move on my part, saved me a bit of energy. Going into the frame walk, which is another banker for me, I felt confident that I'd get good points on the frame. Just shows in strongman comps you never know what's going to happen, because the frame went absolutely terribly. I've never placed so low on a frame walk. I think I was like 8th or 9th place, something as low as that. It was a very awkward frame in terms of the balance, and they put some kind of tape, which was supposed to be in the middle, I guess, and as soon as you lift it, it just tilted forward into the floor. So I tried to put my hands forward, tilted backwards, hit the floor. So I tried to kind of do like a staggered grip with one hand slightly forward, one hand slightly back. Excuse me. And I lifted it, felt okay, so I put some little chalk marks on the bar where my hands should go. Obviously, because I was in first place, I ended up going last. And by the time I got to the implement, the chalk was there was just chalk everywhere. Stupid mistake really by me, but I was pretty relaxed about it. I kind of thought, okay, I kind of roughly know where I'm going to go. Picked it up, boom, tilted forward. And I'm thinking, oh God. Moved, put it down, readjusted my hands, picked it up again, and it still tilted forward. But I kind of just had enough of it off the floor to kind of run. So I managed to get the first length, and then turn, tried to pick it up again, tilted back, hit the floor. And my grip by now was just going, especially after the farmers from the week before, the deadlifts that we'd done, traveling. It was just taking it out of my body. And I was like, I knew I wasn't going to finish in a decent time. And a few of the guys had already torn their calluses as well, quite badly. I had another attempt, picked it up, moved forward a little bit, and then I was like, I'm going to leave it now. The only saving grace for me is that I beat Rob on that event, so it put me 1.5 points ahead going into the Atlas Stones. And stones have been going really well in training. I was actually said in my interview, because the frame went so badly, I actually felt confident that the stones would go well. My body, although battered a bit from the events and the travelling and the week before, I was still, hydrated well. I was making sure, that's something I've kind of improved on as well over the years from injuries, is making sure I'm hydrated. I just drink kind of salted water all day long for the few days before and the day of the competition. And I've gone through 4 or 5 comps now where I haven't dehydrated myself. I've stayed, I haven't cramped up, which is something that used to be a mistake in the past. And just coping with long days and the heat. I'm getting better at things like that as I get older. And I was very relaxed going into the stones. I knew, worst case scenario, I needed to be 1 place behind Rob, which I was confident I could do, even though there were some good stone lifters in the show. Most people managed 3 or 4 stones. There was a few guys that did all 5. Mark Felix did all 5. Brian Benzel did all 5. And then I think 2 of the new Americans did a really good time. Trey Mitchell and Kevin Ferris both really blitzed through the course. And then it was up to me and Rob. So I knew I needed to do a decent 5. I was focused on my lane. I didn't really, I had blinkers on. I didn't know what was going on with Rob. I just knew that I needed to put in a good performance, lift all 5. And I flew through the stones, ended up winning, which is nice for me. It's weird to come 8th in a frame and win the stones. But it just shows, strongman comps, you never know what's going to happen. You've got to focus on one event at a time. And that's something I've got better and better at as I've got older, is learning to kind of forget about events that go badly. I knew I'd won, and it's kind of bittersweet because it was great to win a Giants live show and qualify for Worlds. But I looked over and I saw Rob was really struggling. Unfortunately, he hurt his back trying to load the first stone. It was quite a high platform, to be fair. I think he's done it before, so I'm not going to make excuses for him. He's a great strongman. He's more than capable of it. But when you hurt yourself in a show, it's horrible. And when you hurt your back, I've been there before. I've slipped a disc in my back, and it's the worst thing. Especially strongman, where everything is back orientated. So it was a shame to see, because we had a great battle going in, and I'm pretty convinced he would have been second in the comp. But pleased to win another Giants Live. I think it's my 5th Giants Live that I've won, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, my trophy got broken travelling home, which sucks. But hopefully Giants Live will replace it for me, or I can try and fix it. But these things happen. I'll learn to take it on on the plane with me next time rather than in the bag. But it's another Giants Live victory for myself. Very pleased with that. Obviously won Europe, so won Britain's Strongest Man. I've won in Finland. So, another big achievement. Last 3 years in a row I've won major titles, so very pleased with that. But the main goal from the weekend was to qualify for next year's World's Strongest Man. And to qualify for Worlds 2019 so early, it means I can kind of now relax and really plan my training to be at my best for Worlds. And I'm hoping to put in a big performance next year. I've kind of made a few changes, and we're kind of still in the transition phase of getting everything where it needs to be. I know from the experience mentally I can cope very well in the situations. It's just making sure the body's ready, and that'll be the big goal. I've got a few things coming up till October, a few seminars that I've got on, other competitions. But the main focus when I get to October will be training for World's Strongest Man next year. So I'm looking forward to having a good amount of time to really focus on that. That's what I've been up to. It's been fun. Like I said, 2 competitions within 6 days of each other. I feel at 35 and how long I've been doing strongman and the injuries I've been through, that's pretty tough for me to do these days. But it was fun. Had a great time. I was looked after really well in the States. Really nice hospitality by the people I was staying with. We had a fun competition. Happy to be home, happy to get focused. I've got the UK Strongest Man end of July, which is the main focus this year. Try and defend that title. And then a number of other shows, great shows for people to come and watch Strongman. We've got the World Team Championships coming up. It's a great event in Stoke where it's kind of a friendlier show. Great for the fans to come and watch and meet some of the guys. Competing in Manchester. The Giants Live World Tour Finals. Another huge show. Big arena, a great chance for you guys to come and see some of the best guys. I'm also going to Dubai later in the year, which is going to be fun. I've not been to Dubai before. And I've got a number of seminars. The next one, which is this weekend coming, up in Devon, or down in Devon. I'm refereeing a strongman comp on the Saturday, and then the Sunday I'm running a seminar. If you check out my website, www.laurenceshahlaei.co.uk, you can see everything that I'm up to. You can also see the merchandise part. I've got a shop on there now. If you want to support me in any way, it means a lot. And see what competitions I've got coming up, what events, seminars, etc. And where you get a chance to come and see me. Thank you very much, guys. I will see you soon.